We are live. DA Thor is here first. Recognize. Shoot me a message, please, if you can hear me. And let's get this out on X. If you can hear me, please shoot me a message in the live chat. If you guys can hear me, please shoot me a message in the live chat. Any questions, comments, please reply. Jeannie says that she can. Okay, great, perfect. So I started this 1 hour early before the X space to do a bit of a backstage and get those watch hours going again. Any questions, any suggestions, any feedback on any of my videos so far? GN, I think it's GNPV. GN, am I pronouncing your name correctly? GNPV. What does PV stand for? Are your last name's initials? Should, hi Drew, almost off the grid garage says, yo, what's up? Watch our mining. Let's go. Let's go. Watch our mining. I like it. What was I going to ask? I was going to ask something. GN. Oh, what do you guys think about putting auto captions on YouTube videos? Should I put auto captions on my videos? The short ones that are about 10, 20 minutes long, which are subsections of long form videos, which are about an hour, 2 hours long. Should I put all the captions? Do you guys think it would be distracting? Actually, I can pronounce Jenny. Jenny. Pronounce Jenny plus initials. Jenny PV. Jenny. Drew says for the blind. No, these are kind of like, these all the captions would be kind of like embedded in the video. So you can't turn them off. And they're kind of, the kind of all the captions that you see on YouTube Shorts. Kid Kick says doesn't hurt. The thing is, like, sometimes I feel like it can be distracting. You know what I mean? But maybe I'll start doing that with the short form videos, because there's also some work involved in correcting the other captions. I posted an image of one of the mistakes we made today, and especially when I'm talking, I don't think I think I have a difficulty pronouncing R's. It seems I'm realizing with kind of doing this podcast and just replaying it to myself. I have a difficulty pronouncing R's. Not distracting since videos are without videos. Sure, that's a good point, Kid Kick. And then Drew says, sure, if you don't have live video. Well, it wouldn't be for the live video section. Like, it wouldn't be for this. It would be for the all things Tesla videos that are published, the edited videos, and then the short videos published as subsections of those long form videos. Like today, before I started this, I took a 10-minute section actually, it was more like a 20-minute section of a discussion from 2 days ago about Tesla Scope's thoughts and information on if Tesla will refresh the Model Y and when it will happen, what it said to its sales advisors. I edited that 20-minute section down to 10 minutes. I took out the filler words like or the pauses, which can range from 0.2 seconds to about 2 seconds. So that all reduces the noise. And then I put on all the captions, and then I took a few minutes to edit the other captions. And I posted that video with a thumbnail, a very simple thumbnail. When will Tesla refresh the Model Y? And a catch title. This is what it told its employees, kind of thing. So I wonder how that video will do. That video just got posted. It takes a few minutes to process the video, for YouTube to process the video, to check for whatever they're checking for. I'm not sure. And then process the standard definition and then high definition. I really like this live chat function for pre-game, after hours, after party, kind of debrief about how the space went. And I really need you guys' feedback. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm still I'm figuring things out as I go along. And you all have been watching YouTube videos, and you all are very knowledgeable about Tesla. So you are the perfect group to help me build this channel. Let's see. Drew Soul, what are your thoughts on crypto? Let's put that on the side for a second. Kid Kick says, short form videos with other captions are actually good. I like it. Okay, good. And then Kid Kick says, I took audio of your video and got 1.6 thousand views. Oh, wow. I think all the view hours goes to the original content creator. So it will help to your view hour too, FYI. Interesting. I did not know that. I do open my videos for remixing. YouTube asks me if I want to allow people to remix my videos into short form or other content. And I don't know why someone would say no to that. Like, is it like copyright stuff? I like, especially at this early stage of the channel, it would only give visibility. And Kid Kick is saying that it also adds to your watch hours. So that's great. Maybe I'll encourage people to remix my videos. Drew Soul, is crypto? I don't really know much about crypto. I'm not really interested in crypto. I have to say that this pre-party format is a great way to warm up and get a pulse on what's happening in the market and Tesla projects. Exactly. I completely agree with that. The OG content creator. Man, the only thing is I don't think I can type into the chat function here. Like during the X space, sometimes I want to be able to respond without mentioning live chat in the X space. Because as I listen to these, you know, while I'm editing X spaces into All Things Tesla Today format, I'm noticing that I mentioned live chat every other sentence, and it almost sounds like everybody cares about Tesla topics and I care about live chat. But that's because I can't reply directly into live chat, so I have to kind of reply in audio. But I've seen other people be able to do it, so I don't know if maybe it's just a laptop desktop kind of thing. I was able to get. You should be able to type in. Oh, hi Meta. You should be able to type in. Daniel says, but I can't do it on my mobile. I might be able to do it on a laptop. So here's the situation in my personal life. So you guys get the preview, the backstage access to my personal life a little bit that I won't discuss on X space or any other posts really. But I know you guys are my biggest supporters. So I have to move this week. And so that's going to happen this weekend. And then after that, I also got a charger for my laptop. I was able to find a cheap charger for my laptop, for my 2012 laptop, which is like hard to find a charger for. So I'm gonna have some laptop. The laptop works fine. The battery works fine. I charged it in the morning. Let's see what the drainage is like by noon. 100% battery went down to 97%. So that's nothing. So that's good. That's a good thing. And then, and I'm gonna have a workspace in my new place. I can put the laptop in there. I'm at two, and I think Jimmy said he's going to send the microphone, so maybe that'll help. I thought about doing middleware from one video to the other. Um, I thought about doing middleware from one video to the other, but the thing is then I can't do this pre-game and the after hours party or the after party. I don't think it would all tie into. And sometimes I do want to talk separately to live, and there's other discussion going on too on X. Like I want that flexibility. I don't think middleware would allow that. So maybe we'll keep that to the side for a little bit. But these live chats are really helping watch hours, by the way. Hit that like button, guys. Thank you, Drew. Live chats are really helping um, watch hours. I think yesterday's live chat added about 200 hours, which is great. And then the one before that also added about 200 hours. And the more people we can get in here, the quicker it accelerates, or the quicker it adds up. We are up to about 2,000 hours. So we have 1,000 hours needed for memberships, stickers, super chats. So that's 1,000 hours away. So only a couple of days. And then we are 2,000 hours away from ad revenue share. So that's another couple of days, hopefully. So hopefully by the end of Monday, we'll get there. And I'm actually thinking about, depending on how this move goes, it should be very smooth. I'm actually thinking about doing Saturday, Sunday, Monday, like just going through the weekend, because weekends are really when people watch YouTube. People watch YouTube according to data in the afternoons, in the evenings, and on the weekends. Nobody watches in the mornings. Not that that matters according to YouTube. YouTube says that there's no evidence, no studies, no evidence concluding, proving that there's rhyme or reason to when you post and how many views you get. So Meta says, I can commit to walk mode on Monday. Let's go. That's definitely, and my walk path is going to be different on Monday, hopefully, depending how this goes. Meta says, this feel like a better experience than Patreon to me once you have memberships. Yeah, definitely. Although I do want to keep Patreon, and Patreon has really changed in the last couple of years since the last time I did it. They have more like different functionalities. They have a podcast form. Like I wonder if I can record once and publish in different platforms that same content, because people just prefer different, they have their preferences when it comes to platforms, how they want to consume content. So I'm going to put myself on mute and take a bite out of my wrap. Should we do a Discord? Drew asks, should we do? Cross posting is good. When next FSD drive? Well, the car I was doing FSD, it's on Turo, and I actually was helping my friend as an advisor. So I said, why don't you just let it set auto prices? And he said, well, then it's going to go for $30 a day, $20 a day, $30 a day. Well, I'm like, it's better than not going at all, because your incremental cost per mile is zero in a Tesla. It's literally just depreciation, which is very little for a used Tesla that is several years old already. So if your incremental cost is only a few cents per mile, why wouldn't you rent it out at 20? Otherwise, it's just sitting there. And then the other thing that he was doing was he was going all the way to the airport, which is like $20 on Uber, taking the car between and then coming back, which is another $20 on Uber. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, if there's no problem with the car, save yourself the time, the cost to get out there. First, we thought about doing bus passes, and I was going to do that while I'm on my phone doing work and stuff. And but then I was like, we don't even need to do that, unless if there's an issue with the car in between tenants. Just like best process, no process. So he stopped doing that. And then I said, just keep an eye on the ratings of who you're renting it out to. So if somebody who's already rated 4.95 or whatever is very unlikely to trash the car or leave the car trashed or leave any trash in the car. So so anyway, long story short, that's the reason why I'm not in FSD drives anymore, because the car is all rented quite a bit, and we haven't gotten a new update. So should we do a Discord? I mean, we could do a Discord. I'm gonna take another bite. And it says just make sure to clean the car regularly, and they'll get more customers. Yeah, yeah. He has a all you can clean kind of deal from a nearby place. So you take the car, they in 20 minutes they wash the interior and exterior, and it's shiny, no charge and no incremental cost. So his incremental cost is really zero, which is incredible. I'm like, dude, just like buy a bunch of used Teslas, leave them around town. Like, what an easy way to do it, I think. And you get $20, $30 a day. Used Model 3s that are now going for like $20,000. You know, if you rent it out for $20 a day, you're getting, um, $500 a month. But I think the best use of it, like highest and best use of a used Tesla is really Uber, I think. If you can find somebody who is going to drive it on minimum wage. So Uber plus FSD subscription, and the driver doesn't have to do anything. I think that's even better return than Turo. Meta says, I feel Discord should just be Patreon. Don't overdo the platforms. It can lead to burnout. I mean, that is true. Yeah, I feel like I'm already putting out too much content, but I need to reduce the amount of time it takes to edit these things, which I think once the laptop is up and going. So next week is going to be very important. So this weekend is the transition. Right now, I'm just so glad there's a bit more clarity on the next few days. So gonna punch out these daily podcasts, the short form, maybe one or two if I can get out every day. That should add, and with the live chat, that should add about 500 hours plus a day. And then so that'll get to monetization by Monday or Tuesday. And then I'm not sure how long they take to review and approve, because apparently somebody has to go in and check and whatever. And then next week is going to be with the laptop. Let's see what I can do with the laptop and the two phones. And how quickly I can get these things out. How I'm thinking about adding auto captions. Meta, I posted a video on Model Y refresh. When will Tesla refresh the Model Y? My last video, and I added some auto captions at the top. I would highly appreciate it if you guys can give me some feedback. Like, should I add that on all videos now? If you're in the live chat, please hit the like button. Kid Kick says Uber is not a good option for EV in his opinion. Charging is supercharged expensive, but my friend actually has charging at his apartment. So this is Austin apartment building, and he has charging at his apartment. So for free, by the way. So overnight. So you would Uber for 200 miles, you know, 10, 20 miles each. You can get 10 plus trips. That's $100 to $200 depending how the day goes, how busy it is, and then just charge overnight. You know, so $100 a day. That's 3, 4 times more than what you're getting with Turo. But you obviously have the wage cost, um, $15 an hour. Yeah, I mean you're employing somebody, I guess, but so it has to be $200 a day. 10, 20, 10 trips. Yeah, it has to be way more than 10 trips. So if you do 2 trips an hour, um, yeah, I'll think about that some more. Anyway, you can always remove it and ask for feedback. No, but need to charge during the day too. Not really, if you're doing on 200 miles of rides. Focus on X and YouTube. Okay. I'm curious to see how much AdSense is going to pay because there's a lot of variables. And what I'm doing on YouTube is very unusual compared to what other people do. There's no video. That's another reason why I was considering all the captions, that it might keep people looking at the screen a little bit more. Not sure if that matters to AdSense, but um, and all the captions are not really auto. Like it still takes a bit of work to make sure the captions are correct, or at least the editing software I'm using isn't that great. But see, that's what I'm saying. Like you can actually turn the captions on. YouTube automatically puts closed captions on every video. So what's the benefit of me adding all the captions embedded into the video that people can't take off, right? I'm gonna put up a poll for all the captions. Let's do a poll with the people in live chat on all the captions. Okay, I created the poll. Just be keep in mind that people cannot take these all the captions off. These are not the closed captions that YouTube already creates. Okay, this is embedded, kind of like what you see on YouTube Shorts. Well, looks like no's are winning, although it's kind of 50-50. What an amazing topic. When people are divided, it's so amazing. If you're in the live chat, please hit that like button, show some reactions, because that actually spreads it out to other people. And the more people we can get in here, on average, if we get 100 people in here, that would be a record for the channel, and it would add hundreds of hours to the watch hours. We have some news on X. Sawyer says about 38 minutes ago, Tesla has been forced to delay deliveries of the Model S dual-motor all-wheel drive and Model Y Performance in the US. Tesla instituted the delivery pause at the request of the EPA due to potential issues with the two vehicles' range figures. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right. Oh my gosh. Wow. You guys are really divided down the middle. Amazing. Drew says, I voted yes, just because you should at least try it and see how the metrics compare. Well, it's hard to compare the metrics because you can't do a scientific um, study. Like every video has so many things different from each other, and um, time of the week and the time of the day and all that stuff. But what I can do is read the comments. You know, I really like it when people add a comment with feedback. This is what I liked. This is what I didn't like. This close cap, you change this and that and this shape and all. This was discussed in this chapter, etc. Those discussions at this early stage, I think, are very important, and I'm not getting enough of that in the comments. Every now and then, somebody will say something, but I need more data points to be able to take it to the bank and make some changes. J3 Pop 2, this is what I've been talking about for days. Yeah. So J3 Pop 2, I guess, is saying yes, add auto captions. Meta, are you going to be able to join the X Space? I'm not sure if he's still in here, but I want to ask him about this patent that Tesla filed. Automated adjustment of vehicle direction based on the environment analysis. So the auto captions, again, are not the ones that the YouTube adds automatically. I posted an example of it for the first time just now. When will Tesla refresh the Model Y is the last post in my YouTube channel. So you can check out how that looks. It's kind of like, AI generated, and I go through all the captions and kind of fix it as I go along. I paid up for the pro version of this editing software, which is only about $10 a month. But it identifies pauses, and it can actually write bilingual captions. So if you want the videos to appeal to a different crowd, like let's say another country, like India or Latin America, I can change the bilingual captions, although it doesn't work perfectly. So I was testing with Turkish, and I think they're this is the number one rated mobile editing software, and there's a lot of room for improvements for sure. But they say the laptop version works better, so maybe now that I have a charger for my laptop, maybe it'll be better there. If you've just joined the space, please hit the like button. We have 34 people in the space in live chat, but only 21 likes. So hit that button, smash that button. Do you add all the captions from YouTube or when you edit the videos? I edit the videos. I do it in the editing software called what's it called? Cut something. Let me see. CapCut, the number one software, CapCut. So CapCut is actually a very good software, but even they say every time I open the mobile app, like you should be doing this on desktop. I'm like, I don't have a desktop. So I grabbed the $20 charger from my laptop from 2012, and I'm gonna start doing it there. I'm not sure if it's gonna be powerful enough for that, but I'll give it a try this Sunday or Monday and see how it works. This week is about kind of like being consistent, daily posts of the spaces. If I can get that, it's successful. And then by Monday, Tuesday, if we can get to this 4,000 watch hours thing, then we can put that behind us and focus on increasing the quality of the videos with a bunch of different ways. I have some ideas. I also need to add some B-roll. Drew says, Mr. Beast uses AI to translate his videos to different languages to reach a larger audience. There was a great interview on Joe Rogan discussing his techniques to grow his audiences. I will watch that. Thank you, Drew. I watched a bunch of Mr. Beast tips and tricks. Not many of them apply to what we're trying to do here. Like I'm not trying to go viral with thumbnails and stuff. I want the thumbnails to be more like when people see it. Like I'll tell you this, my click-through rate on the thumbnails is actually very high compared to the average. So even though people are going with like these AI generated ones, I think what it's really more about is building a brand over time. And when people see your brand of thumbnail come up, they'll know that you're going to get what the thumbnail says, that it's going to be um, very high information, low noise, presented well, simply. Like that's the kind of brand I'm going for. So Mike, I'm really happy with the click-through rate. I'm not sure if it's going to scale. Like right now, I think we have a very tight group that really care about Tesla. I'm not sure as it scales. Like that's the other thing is, I think as the subscriber count grows, different. I'm gonna have to kind of pivot every now and then to keep it growing. Like what works today may not work in the future. So, I mean, obviously, like the main pillars are gonna stay, but um, there's a lot to explore down the line. JV Tech Review says, I'm going to subscribe to a Patreon subscription. Is it expensive and worth it? So you can do $5 a month to support the space. You don't get anything for it, okay? For $5 a month, you're basically showing support for the X space and not getting anything for it. $10 a month Patreon is what I recommend to people. You get daily summaries of the X spaces, um, some macro news summary of a couple bullet points, um, and um, and what I also want to do is when I watch other people's videos, I want to be able to kind of just summarize in new and material information, like 1, 2 bullet points. Like if you watch this video, these are the key takeaways. So those 3 things I want to do. However, this week is very busy for me personally. Very volatile, very busy and uncertain. So I took a pause from creating content for the $10 a month version. And this week and then next week, I'm going to start that back up. So um, I hope that happens. But, I'm trying to do a lot of different things right now with editing these videos into long form, short term. I was also doing some shorts that I kind of took, stopped doing that. I should probably do that a little bit more. So right now, Patreon is on back burner, but I think that's only going to last until Monday. It'll come back up on Tuesday. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. That's my goal. That's my goal. Patreon, YouTube Live, X Spaces. I also want to publish some articles either on Patreon or X or Seeking Alpha, maybe. So all the different, it's basically what's going to come down to is what fits the goal of creating a community, and also generating ad revenue and other revenue more per hour. That's the kind of, but it's all around Tesla. So I think just focusing on Tesla content, I can get to 100,000 followers. Like to go from 100,000 to a million, I think Tesla will have to grow itself. Like I don't think I can do it just on Tesla content alone. And that's the goal. Like, you want to get to a million plus subscribers. Otherwise, it's kind of a part-time job. Thank you, JV. JV says, sounds good, I'll subscribe. Thank you. JV Tech Reviews is my name for YouTube. I'm Joey from Yes Space. Talk to you. Joey, okay, great. Nice to meet you. You should get a puppet to emulate you for live. Well, the live chat function right now, the reason why it started is because of watch hours, right? It accelerates these public live chats count toward watch hours. But I don't have a setup right now for a video. So Um, it really doesn't make much sense without the video, I thought. But then during my X spaces, I really like having this live chat open during my X spaces too. So even if there's no video, I like that ongoing discussion that, so it's a bit of a fluid situation right now with the live chat. But yeah, I mean, YouTube lives are great and I don't mind being on camera. I just need a setup. So, but I think that's, other things need to fall in place for that first. So I think that I can get to 10,000 plus subscribers with the current setup I have. And then 10,000 to 100,000 will require some investment in equipment, maybe a newer laptop or at least something that's not 12 years old. So I can create content a little bit better, faster, more efficiently. And then once I get to 100,000, to go from 100,000 to a million, I think I'm going to have to do some um, um, like video live plus other video content on X, on YouTube, etc. But that's from 100,000 to a million, I think. I don't think that's needed for 100,000, but we'll see. We'll see. Right now, the priority is to just be consistent. We have 20 minutes to go to the X space. If you're in the live chat, please hit that like button. Habib is back. Stop being negative on Tesla. Yeah, I mean, unless if the fundamentals warranted, but that's not the case right now. I think the stock is very undervalued right now. I don't know what Machine is talking about when he says it's fairly valued. I think he's out of his mind. To think that Tesla stock is fairly valued today, you have to assume these AI efforts aren't going to play out. And that's essentially what he said. It's just when he said it comes out negative. Anyway, selfie stick, iPhone, kitchen table, boom. Start with the grassroots. It's more authentic, relatable. Yeah, I'll think about it. Yeah, should I add all the captions? 50-50 split. We already have Tesla economists who turn it. Might want to do a PO box because there are lots of crazes out there. Use that PO box as your address. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, right now, that's not an issue. So, Erica says hello. Hello, says Erica. Trying to look through the comments, see if I missed anything. If I missed your reply in the chat, you may just say it again. Any validity, authenticity to this Cybertruck Rust story? Don't know if this topic was discussed. No. I didn't see that either. We can ask the speakers when they're coming. Um, Rob's Daily was tough to beat. You could team up with Sawyer's Infosys. He doesn't do YouTube. Yeah, we'll figure it out. No problem. All right. Why don't you own a Tesla of your own yet? I don't need a car right now, but in the future, hopefully. It doesn't make sense to own a car if you don't need a car. That would be irresponsible. I haven't owned a car since 2010. Just walk everywhere. I walk about 10 miles a day, 10 to 20 miles a day. I've been listening to your X Spaces for months now, pretty long time. I've never actually communicated until now, though. Your spaces are amazing, entertaining. Thank you, JV. I appreciate that. Habib. Thanks, Habib, for moderating and cheering on. What do you guys want to talk about today on the X Space? Oh, the other things I think People should come to the speaker board more often. I want to go back to the 10, 20, 20 plus 2 dozen speakers a day kind of thing. Shirt has to come off for 100,000 to million, maybe. Maybe I'll do that. Drew, are you hoping to have a setup similar to Meet Kevin? Yeah, maybe. I mean that's kind of necessary, I think. Would be great visually to see you pull up content on the screen while we discuss it. Yeah, exactly. But that's, I think, down the line. That's nowhere near in my near future. Open speaker board invite. Yeah, I think the people who come to this live chat with, even though there's no video, just black. It's just literally me talking, and they're doing. I think most people are doing it just to support the Watch Hours initiative. So, like, these are my supporters. These are my people. So you all are familiar with the rules, and I can edit a lot of things out for the edited version. And I think I have a better, I have a better way of making sure the rules are followed nowadays than before. So learning as I go along. All right, we have 15 minutes. Thanks, guys. Tesla live space to the moon. Open. YouTube audio is way better than X. Yeah, people keep saying that. Wow, auto captions are now winning. It's such a. So I posted my last video. I posted has auto captions. I put in CapCut, the #1 editing software. Signed up for pro version, $10 a month. It does some of the work for me, and has auto captions. So watch that video when Will tells us refresh the Model Y, and let me know in the comments to the video if you enjoy the auto captions or not, please. More feedback the better at this early stage of the channel. Like, literally just whatever comes to your mind as you watch it, put it in the comments. Chris, what's better about YouTube audio versus X audio? Okay, that's good feedback. Do you guys like having live chat function available throughout the space? Like instant feedback too. Like, for example, yesterday we had the news about Elon's 13G filing, and it was really helpful for people to kind of put in what they thought in the live chat as I was reading. Because in those situations, I can't really bring people up that I don't know. You know, everybody has an opinion, so I need to be very selective about who comes up in those tight situations. But I can't read comments. You know. Michael Solly says live YouTube videos now have topics in chapters. Allows me to listen to the sections I want to hear. Yeah, that's a big plus for the edited version of the X Spaces. Michael, which chapters did you enjoy watching, and which ones you can do without? Daniel says In his opinion, the best part of your space is no hands with 68 speakers. Yeah. Yeah, the no hands mode depends on various different things. Number of speakers, the experience of the speakers on the board, with the rules, the topic, and then also what I have going on at the time. Sometimes it's just a necessity, like I'm working on something or doing cooking lunch or walking or whatever. Um, yeah, no hands mode is always preferable to hands mode. It also flows naturally too. Habib says, live chat is great. Feel more engaged with the speaker board. The audience can also have a sub chat going on based off the speaker's topic at the moment. It's a space within a space. I agree. That's a great point, Habib. Drew says, YouTube live chat is great for quick correction of feedback or additions. Help supplement the topic. I agree. Very good. Very good. Very, very good. We got 12 minutes to go. I'm going to eat an apple. Thanks for the backstage session. I'm going to finish some stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Tesla 5% green. Oh, really? Let's see. Tesla 5.1%, $198 per share. PE ratio 46, $620 billion market cap. All right, all right. Machine's going to be happy with his leaps. Overall markets like green, S&P 500 up 0.6%. Interesting. Other mega tech companies are actually down, except for Meta. JV asks, Drew says, Meg 1. Mega 1, Tesla. I thought that was going to happen in 2022. JV, are you planning on making YouTube videos or just using it for the spaces? Making YouTube videos may be good for your audience, but not sure exactly. Yes, I do. I do want to make videos at some point. I don't think they're necessary to get to 10,000 or maybe even 100,000 subscribers. Um, I think we can get there with the spaces content alone, but it would accelerate. It's just that that requires a bit of an investment, you know, in your desktop, a couple of screens, and I don't have that right now, so it's not really an option at this time. But maybe later this year, I can definitely see that. And that video would also go into, um, X YouTube at the same time. But later this year, maybe. The other thing is like, so it's not really just me, right? It's also the speakers on the board. Like, can you imagine if I asked these guys to, hey, you have to be on video now? Like, that's not going to fly, Like, I think the one big benefit of our space is that it's audio only. So you can do other things. So people don't have to make this like, I have to schedule in my calendar to be on video from 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 p.m. And then literally just like scratch out everything else on my schedule. Audio is very casual, and I kind of like that casual aspect of the spaces. People can come in, can go out. It's more of a house party rather than a choreographed wedding. You see what I mean? So, so I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet, but I don't think it's needed to get to 10,000 subscribers, and that's the goal right now. 10,000 subscribers, and then tens of thousands of views on each video. Once I get there, then I think the next stage will look a little different. Maybe add some video, maybe a bit more professional content, maybe editor. I'm not sure. But I like having everything on the like vertically integrated right now. I do my content, I do my editing, I do the setups and everything. I do the analysis of the data. So the research, the relations building with the speakers, all that is important. So Drew says people would have to brush their teeth. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have to wear a shirt. Like people are gonna worry about how they look on camera. Like I don't want that. I actually like the casual aspect of it. So we have 7 minutes to go to the space. Any questions I can answer beforehand? Thank you, Tyrone, for the kind words. Do we triple before or after compact reveal? I didn't see space notification. Well, 6 minutes for the space. It's not there yet. This is just for the live chat. This is the pre-game where I do my vocal exercises, my tongue twisters. Red leather, yellow leather is the one that I'm having most difficulty. And then, now that I have all the captions on with my videos, or the short form ones, for those of you who just joined, I just posted when will Tesla refresh the Model Y video, and I added auto closed captions. I highly please check it out and let me know if you like that format. If I should be adding more closed captions, like automated closed captions as people speak, if that's helpful. And I notice, obviously, if the system can't tell the word I'm saying, that's an instant feedback on that I'm saying the word wrong. So I notice, like I say Model Y, I need to slow down a little bit more, enunciate. When I say Model Y, the model word it wouldn't pick up for whatever reason every single time. Model. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about because you're familiar with Tesla and its models. But when other people said it, like Tesla Scope or Omar, it picked it up very fine. So I was like, what the hell? What the hell, AI? Anyway, so you're right about the fact that YouTube videos are better to do in the future, and that it's better to do audio only for now. Okay, great. You should do interviews. I believe your attention detail would do well in that setting. Interviews, practice your words. You should call a house party. Yeah, house party. Um, what interviews? Like with who? With whom? Yeah, I'll do interviews with like other creators maybe at some point. That's probably one step to go from 10,000 to 100,000. That's within that step. Do interviews. Right now, it's all about punching out content, like hustling it is what it's all about. 10,000. Hustle. The hustle stage. Chapter hustle. Anyway, we have 42 people in this live chat. We've already had hundreds of people come in and out, and I only have 29 likes, guys. Hit that like button. Let's get this out. If you haven't hit that like button, hit that like button. Let's get the word out. The more people in this live chat, on average, throughout the live chat, the quicker we'll get to 4,000 hour watch hours for monetization. At 3,000 hours, which we're only a couple of days away, you can sign up as membership or super chats or stickers or what have you. But YouTube takes a chunk of that. So we really need to get to ad revenue. Let's see. Three minutes. Omar really sparked my interest of Optimus control exploration with VR headset. Maybe it's a slow news day. Maybe we can explore the use case of interaction between humans, but via VR. Okay. When he comes in, I'll ask about it. And feel free, like earlier in the space when we don't have anybody, like none of the speakers, they're kind of rolling with their own schedule, right? Feel free to request to speak very early on, like before they jump in, because that's really when I can really accept people that I haven't seen before. And that's where we have some more dead zone anyway. So request to speak at the time and at the beginning. Ideally, I would rather keep that Tesla stock, interest rates kind of stuff very short, because I edit that beginning part out for my edited videos on YouTube, because no one cares about macro. Like literally, that's what I'm realizing with the data and stuff is like no one cares about the macro stuff. They don't find it interesting. The only macro stuff people care about is, will the Fed cut rates next meeting? That's it. Like what the next couple of, but macro in essence really is about long term, like the structural shifts due to demographics and geopolitics and what have you. But people don't care about a few years out or decades out. Demographic is more of a decades kind of thing. So I created a different X handle for macro discussions, FYI. It's called VA underscore macro. So that's where I'm doing my macro tweets now. Macro spaces on Saturdays, macro tweets. So that's going to be a different sub brand going forward. All right, let's get this show started. You asked the other day if you would ever have 1 million in space. I think you get there if you ever get to interview Elon. Do you have a list of questions ready in case he ever pops into your space? I don't think he's going to pop into the space, but yeah, I have a list. If Cybertruck had a rust problem, they wouldn't consider boat mode for it. Final Cut Pro is only for Mac, and our Premiere Pro is for Mac Pro. I love your macro take. Thank you, Henry. CapCut is pretty good though. Yeah, CapCut for now, and then we'll get to Final Cut after. All right. Now, to start the space, I need to get rid of my AirPods because I have to speak into both phones at the same time. All right, so give me 1 sec. All right, how is the audio? Is it better or worse? Here we go. Keep talking. I like this music, I kind of let it run, even though I'm ready right now. Like, listen to the music. But when Meta comes in early, then I'll start it early. Meta, how are you?
Good. How have you been? Good. I apologize for missing a bunch of your spaces recently, but it's kind of exciting to see the YouTube live stuff going too.
Well, you're going to have to make up for it in other spaces with additional hours. So don't apologize.
I'll make up for it in the future.
All right, great. Are you on YouTube live chat at the same time?
I'm going to rejoin, but I have to mute it.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. We just had a 1 hour pregame in YouTube Live. That was pretty cool. It was really awesome. I can actually it's a different content too. It's not the same discussion. It's more about the YouTube channel itself. So I really like that. I think you muted the space, buddy. Which one? You're supposed to mute the YouTube live chat.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm just muting myself. I can't mute YouTube chat. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Tesla up 5%, just below $200 per share. $620 billion market cap, 46 PE ratio. Overall markets, I need to say my R's better. Overall markets, that wasn't any better. Dow Jones up 0.8%, NASDAQ up 0.2%, S&P 500 up 0.6%. Tesla up, Meta up, every other megatech company is down. Financial stocks are up. I wonder why. Oil stocks are up. Really, everybody up except for some of the megatech, most of the megatech companies. Google down 2.5%. Let's see. Oil, $78 per barrel. We had a ton of macro data that came out today. I'm not going to go into detail of macro, but what I'm going to do is I created a new macroeconomics channel because according to data I'm seeing, most people don't really care for detailed macro discussions. So those of you who do care, you can follow me at VA_macro. VA_macro is my macroeconomics channel on X. But we got a ton of data that came out 8:30 a.m. today Eastern. So let me just go through this real quick. Initial claims seems in line with Goldilocks. Continuing claims went up a little bit. That's good from Fed's perspective. Retail sales are down more than expected. Retail sales ex-auto for January down 0.6%. Import-export prices came in higher, which is not good for the disinflation story. New York Empire State Manufacturing Index came down, but less than expected. So that's good for growth. Philly Fed Index turned positive. That's good for, these are February readings, so that's really good. Capacity utilization is at normal levels, in line with Goldilocks, 78.5%. And NAHB Housing Market Index for February, another February reading, is positive. So February was pretty strong. And so let's see what GDP now estimate is for Q1 seasonally adjusted annualized rate of growth. Real GDP growth from Q4 to Q1 seasonally adjusted annual rate, it was 2.9%. This is an estimate as of today. So based on this data, it went down slightly, which is what I would have expected. So 2.9%. It's still very strong growth. And that's good. In line with Goldilocks. So I think Machine will be happy about this. UTC will be happy about this, etc. Meta, are you busy? Should I make you, do you want me to make you a moderator at YouTube live chat?
I can do it for 20 minutes and then I'll be dropping off, but I'll be back on the weekend.
No, you don't have to focus on it. First of all, there's really no spam going on YouTube live chat, so that's great. But I also have, but I don't think there's a limit to how many moderators I can have on YouTube live. So that's great. So I have like a dozen moderators already. So whoever's in there, if there's somebody causing trouble, you can just put them on timeout, or you can kick them out.
Sounds good.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you're in this space, I'm going to pin the link at the top again. If you could please go to YouTube Live, that would be very helpful. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Here we go. At the top of your screens is the link to YouTube Live. We have 44 participants. I've been on there for more than an hour. We had pre-game. We discussed the future of the channel. Lots of good feedback. I really need a lot of feedback at this early stage of the channel. So the link is at the top of our screens. Meta, what's on your mind?
There is the Sora released by OpenAI, Gemini 1.5 by Google, and there's a third one. Sorry, they fell off my what was on top of my mind. There's another AI release. I apologize. Wherever they are.
Carpet leaving.
Carpathy?
What do you think of that?
Oh yeah, that was that's a different topic. But yeah, Carpathy leaving. I think that's telling that he maybe isn't finding it as likely to be a successful company. Maybe. Here's the thing: if we from the outside can look at it and say hardware is really what it's all about, Microsoft's not really going to have a big lead there as of right now, and your Karpathy and Optimus is happening, maybe it's more fun to go do Optimus or to just do your own, go back to teaching, or maybe he wants to go back to Google. Or actually, did he ever work at Google? I don't know if he ever worked at Google. I think that was Ilya Suslova that I'm thinking of. Who knows? But he might choose to do something else. I think it's hard to work on the company that's maybe not looking like it's going to be the winner.
Yeah, I mean, depends on what you want from what you do, I guess, right? But Omar said that he wants to be more focused on research. So, he went back to the reasons why, Omar went back to the reasons that Karpathy explained why he left Tesla on Lex Friedman podcast. And those reasons are still there. Like if he comes back, he's still going to be a manager, But XAI could be a different story, right?
Maybe. Even with XAI, it would be the same thing. So the reality is, like, if you're trying to do large, impactful work, you have to scale yourself up. There's only so much you can do that's high impact as a solo engineer compared to someone who managed to be successful through delegation to other engineers. You don't have to be a manager, but you do have to be like a technical lead at least.
Yeah. So what do you think is the likely outcome here? Do you think he comes back to Tesla or XAI or something else? YouTube?
I think there's a strong possibility he ends up at Tesla or XAI. Most likely Tesla, depending on how the comp thing shakes out, probably. But what I would anticipate is he's not going to just be doing a solo project, because in order to do that, he would need a lot of money for a lot of resources to do anything meaningful, and he would need a lot of customers to get the data. And I don't think he's interested in building those aspects out.
Gotcha. Let me just quickly answer. Zachary is asking, what's the name of the macro account? It's VA_macro. VA_macro on X. All right. Stock is up today, 6%. 5%.
Does that mean the audience is 6% more cheerful today?
Exactly. I mean, that means Machine is going to be more cheerful because he's been in leaps and he's been hearing it from his wife. We still don't have V12.2, so there's not much to talk about there. Do you want to talk about the 3 AI items that you mentioned?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Do you want to talk about the 3 AI topics that you mentioned?
Oh, sure. Have you seen the model updates from OpenAI and Gemini?
I did not. Would you please summarize it for us?
Sure. OpenAI just released a text-to-video model that it seems like it can generate a minute or more of video, which is pretty impressive. It's much more generic than the one that Tesla showed. It certainly has some physics issues still, but it's pretty cool that you can basically have it, you can describe what you want in text, and then it imagines it and renders it. And it's not necessarily like high quality, but it is getting there, and you can always up-res each image from there. But it kind of shows the power of, like, how Tesla demoed text showing, okay, we need a scene of a human driving down the road and a deer runs across the highway, something along those lines. These things become easier and easier to do, obviously in a much more focused place for Tesla, but this is promising for a more general way. And then the Gemini launch, which is, I think, pretty cool as well, is they just announced their new model, Gemini Pro 1.5, which can handle 1 trillion tokens of input. So we've jumped up like 7 orders of magnitude with this launch. And the other thing is, in the research paper, they talk about how they're just releasing what they call their medium-sized model here, and that in their research, they've seen, it's unclear if it's this medium or another model, but they do refer to how it can also scale up to 10 trillion. And they're planning to slowly launch it as a public service. But I think it's going to be a slightly scaled thing.
Can you explain to us again, please? So how will 7 orders of magnitude increase in tokens reflect on the consumer side?
Yeah, it's a good question. So as an example, a token is like kind of like, you can think of it like a character. It's like the smallest unit of observable things. So it could be pixels in a video or in pictures. It could also be a cluster of pixels, so you don't have to necessarily define your token as just one pixel. But it's basically the atomic unit of understanding, if you will. Characters can be thought of as that way, or words, however you want to think about it. So what this does is it allows them to go from, code snippets that it would have to, you'd give it like, there's like 1,000 character limit or whatever. And so that was the input you would give it, and you'd have to patchwork things. In the paper, they talk about how now they can understand code with 30,000 lines of code, which is actually pretty meaningful for, most moderate projects. In fact, if they can go up to 10 trillion as opposed to 1 trillion, then logically they can go up to 300,000 lines of code, which, as we know, is roughly how many lines of code there was in the FSD heuristic stack. So even if it doesn't understand the entirety of the code base, you can kind of chunk your code base up. But the other promising thing here is it does seem like it can scale by throwing more machines at it. So if there's more and more need, they can theoretically make that available if there's a sufficient demand for it. So
do you agree with the following statement? More tokens, all else equal, means a deeper understanding of a topic or image or what have you.
It has not necessarily a deeper understanding, but that it can understand more context. Deeper understanding would be more on the parameters and the layers in the model.
Okay, so with 7 orders of magnitude increase in tokens, the accuracy of the model should increase, correct?
No. This is about the input size. So parameters would be about the accuracy of the model.
I understand that, but the problem is no one really, consumers don't care about how many tokens it takes in, right? So how is it going to reflect? Like, eventually at these papers, I think we should kind of at the end of the day, we should say, this is how it's going to change your experience of the software or the product or etc.
So there's 2 ways to change the experience. One is you can now ask it to read a book and tell you questions that are in the book, and the accuracy of that act will be better. Whereas in the past, that was an abuse of the thing it wasn't built for. So if it could read a page before, now it can read a book. So that's a pretty nice difference, and it can understand nuanced stuff inside that book. So now maybe it can read an earnings report or a PhD paper and summarize it for you. You can ask it questions about it. So that's pretty powerful. And then the second thing that they demoed was it can watch movies, and it can look at pictures. And 2 of the demos they showed was, one demo is you can ask it what was written on the note that somebody passed in this movie, and it goes and finds that scene. It can tell you the timestamp, and it can tell you exactly what was written on the note in the movie. And the other example they gave is a human drew like a very easy line drawing with, look like markup, on a whiteboard effectively. and they drew a picture of a person walking, and they asked on Apollo what scene in the movie is that, and it was able to come back and say it's the scene where he walks on the moon, and they say it's a small step for man, large step for mankind. The point is to just show it's getting to the point where you can use lots of different forms of input to interact with it. It has a decent enough memory to remember what you're talking about, and so you can ask it deeper questions.
Got it. And this was a presentation that's published on their website?
Yeah, this is a presentation that's published on their website. I don't think it's open yet. So this is kind of like become the norm in the industry at this point. I think it's available in their AI studio, though.
Okay. Got it. So this is part of trying to build this YouTube channel is that I miss out on that stuff because there's only 24 hours in the day. I'm already sleeping like 3 hours a day. So I'm going to have to get back to that.
Yeah, it'll be a fun read. And it could be an interesting thing to go through these things and just kind of see what the world impact is. Because even the text to video generation from OpenAI is pretty powerful too, because you can almost describe a Tesla commercial at this point with text and have it make it for you.
Yeah, I actually have so I use CapCut to edit my videos, and there is an AI script. So you tell it, what you want a commercial like, and it writes the script, creates the video, and everything. But I'm guessing what you're talking about is even more advanced and more accurate.
Yeah, more higher quality.
Right, more higher quality, exactly. But yeah, this CapCut tool is actually has a bunch of AI functions. I mean, they label it as AI. I'm not sure if it's actually, but some of the things that you're talking about, I can do it in this app, probably less quality, like you said. $10 a month. I'm paying for this pro version.
Yeah, and the world's going to continue to iterate to this quickly, which is very good.
Yeah. Did you see this patent I pinned at the top from Chansu? Breaking Tesla's patent, automated adjustment of vehicle direction based on environment analysis, is published today. Looks useful for Smart Shift, Actually Smart Summon, and FSD V12. Have you seen this one?
I have not had a chance to read the patent, but I can see how that would be very helpful to do a 3-point turn.
Yeah, I'm going to have to read through this sometime, or maybe Omar can tell us when he enters the space. Lars says the new Model 3 has unique shock-absorbing technology called frequency selective dampening, which improves ride comfort by isolating shake frequencies in your belly, 4 to 6 hertz, without losing response to steering. Hey, I mean, this is all very impressive, but I can't help but think that all these tweets and posts, and now that I think they published something on YouTube as well about the Model 3, tells me, even in this early stage, like, are they running into demand issues, you think? The new Model 3 should be selling in the millions. Why isn't it?
Yeah, it's possible they're facing demand issues, given that they also are discounting things, right?
I think the last action was to increase prices, but Troy is out there saying that that's due to parts supply issue. They had some production issues at Fremont. Tesla Scope here the other day said they ran into some parts supplies issues too. It sounds like the Model 3 Highland ramp at Fremont isn't going as smoothly as it did in Shanghai. Is that your impression too?
Yeah, that's my impression as well.
Yeah. So, and then they also came out and said, we're not going to have a new Model Y refresh this year. It's going to be next year.
I think that's okay.
And then the machine interpreted it as saying, well, they must be getting a lot of questions. And that's what Tesla Scope said as well, that they were getting a lot of questions from potential buyers, like, when's the new Model Y coming? I think, the Tesla crowd is really plugged in. I mean, that's, there's a benefit to having all these YouTube channels and Patreon accounts and everything. But then there's another side to it, is that you can't really keep these things secret.
Well, most of the car companies do an annual refresh, so everybody knows roughly when it's going to happen. And I think there is something about, it's kind of like the Fed almost, right? Like letting people know what your plans are. If they were to communicate that stuff and they were more accurate about their their timelines, they didn't pull it forward much, then it would let people know that, well, if I've got to wait another year, I might as well just buy a car, because there's not many people who wait for the new version of other vehicles. Granted, those refreshes are not that big.
Okay, well, Omar's here, so maybe you can eat your lunch in peace.
Well, I'm eating lunch too, so.
All right. So, Omar, what do you think about this patent on automated adjustment of vehicle direction based on environment analysis? But before that, quick reminder to please go on YouTube live chats through the link at the top of our screens, and that helps watch hours so we can get to monetization quicker, the better. Thank you. The link is at the top. Omar, what do you think about this patent?
Well, I mean, it's a patent. It's something that's in their cars already. It's definitely something they invented. I haven't seen it in any other car before, so I don't think this patent matters too much. Tesla doesn't tend to do any enforcement action on their patents. They tend to just patent everything so that somebody else doesn't patent it and then try and sue them. And then you kind of have some defensive leverage. If, for example, BYD says, hey, I'm suing you over this patent, they can say, oh, yeah, well, I'm suing you over this patent. And then they go, okay, fine, let's just not sue each other. So that's just kind of like when you're in tech, they just patent everything. Like if you're on an engineering team, they're always like, hey, listen, if you invent anything, let me know. We'll just patent it. So that's just kind of the way it goes. I mean, I could probably, critique U.S. patent law somewhat. There's definitely some harmful adverse effects, patent trolls, things like that. So this has just resulted in a situation where you just patent everything.
Got it.
Yeah, the common saying is patent or publish, because America allows you to be first to patent. So it doesn't matter who invented it.
Hey, Meta, there's a comment in YouTube chat, live chat, that says we should use the AI tools that you're talking about creating a script and video to create Tesla ads. And that would save Tesla millions and billions in advertising, Drew says. The comment
I would argue the bigger cost of advertising is the distribution fees, not the ad creation fee. But I do think it'd be kind of cool that they could create a lot of ads. And I think of all the companies out there that would use AI to build ads and do something powerful with it, Tesla could be one of them. I know Coca-Cola already did one where they used a lot of AI models, but I think there's a lot of human involvement in stitching that together as well.
All right, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of ads, but now that we have Meta and Omar on board, maybe let's talk some V12. Omar, how is V12 doing for you? Have you had any more drives or edge cases? Any updates to your previous statements?
Yeah, I mean, not too much new to report. It continues to do great. I'm waiting for the 12.2 build. I haven't been doing as many videos with 12.1.2 because I've been kind of waiting for that 12.2 to drop any minute, but it hasn't yet. Maybe there were some issues, some things they needed to work out, but I'm hoping that maybe this weekend I and other early access testers will get it. So that's really going to be huge because, so the crux of the issue, so like from my perspective here, we have Waymo here in San Francisco. It's driverless. I take it all the time, and 24/7, rain, sun, any area of the city I want to go, it goes. It just does it. It works. Sometimes it's a little bit annoying. Yesterday I briefly got stuck for a couple minutes, but overall, very, very good. So then I look at FSD Beta 12, and I have to take over more, obviously, compared to the Waymo, where I never have to take over. But I see it doing these sort of human-like driving moves that I see as sort of surpassing Waymo in some ways. It's just more natural. It's quicker. It's more human-like. The Waymo is sort of more jerky. So I can see it sort of starting to surpass the Waymo in some ways. So the billion-dollar question is, how fast is FSD Beta 12 going to improve to the point where the reliability is actually ahead of Waymo 2 in terms of the number of disengagements? that FSD would actually have less disengagements, less crashes than the Waymo. And it seems within reach. It seems plausible that could happen, just based on like the extra level of smoothness I'm seeing, sort of harnessing their data there, but it hasn't happened yet. So getting this second data point will be really, for the first time, allowing us to see what that slope of the curve is. And the slope of the curve is even more important than where point A or point B is. So I'm really curious to see how much it's improved between the 12.1 and the 12.2. And that may give us a better sense of that billion-dollar question of, okay, is this going to be a thing where we're really waiting a couple more years for V12 to reach that level of reliability? Is it something where it's going to happen within the year? Is it something where it's going to be, maybe a 5-year thing? We don't know, but we're going to find out as this build starts to get out, as more and more builds get out.
Meta?
Let's look at it in like the worst case scenario. Let's say they aren't able to iterate as quickly as they want. Do you think there are experts out there that Elon could go and hire from other places that have done similar things and achieve it? Because in theory, if that's doable, then Tesla as a company has already got all these vehicles out there. I think it's pretty convincing that the hardware can get there. If it's just a matter of missing a little bit of knowledge, I think that gap can be filled pretty quickly. I think if they can't figure it out, pick up the phone and call Andre and say, hey, Andre, sorry to interrupt the new YouTube video you're making, but you think maybe you could give us a little bit of help on this? So, there's just a tremendous amount of interest, capital, talent just going into the field. So, you look at OpenAI's new model today, they released a new text-to-video model, right? So the state of the industry is rapidly advancing, and we're going from just sort of these text-based LLMs to vision-based LLMs that can interpret images and generate images, and now even moving into the video realm, which when you think about self-driving is really in the video realm. And Tesla's been using some of these generative AI techniques to generate training data and stuff like that, to generate variations on training data. So I think there's just an incredible amount of momentum behind this sort of end-to-end approach. But it's hard, I don't want to get overconfident because we've sort of been down this bridge many times before and we've said, oh, wow, okay, this looks very promising. But then you sort of hit this local maximum and you're like, okay, we need something new to get to that next level. So, I don't want to get overexcited and say like, oh my God, they did it. But if we start to get a few more data points and we see it trending in a, much more positive direction, if the slope is much steeper than what we saw between V11 builds, then that's definitely going to be an encouraging sign. I remembered what the third model release was, Iman. It's from Meta, the company, not me. They released something called VJEPAs, which is actually really cool. It's video as input and letting the model reason about the world. So, and they open sourced it. So in theory, this could be useful for things like Optimus. Now, is it better than what they have? Probably not. But because it's open source, they can actually look at their approaches. And even if there's like little things that they're doing better, they can adopt those and pull what they want out of it. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
It's kind of interesting how 3 different companies all released things today. I suspect what happens now is they all have something kind of ready to go. And as soon as somebody publishes something, they all try to publish to try and get market share.
What do you think is next for Tesla on the AI front?
It's got to be FSD12, right?
Yeah. But it's been taking a while.
Yeah.
It seems. It's taken a while to get this FSD12 out.
I think it's got to be, when you're going to do something big, regulators are more nervous. And I can imagine that the reason why this is slow is because they're really, really trying to get convincing evidence to make the argument that maybe 12 shouldn't have as much of a nag. For me, on 11.4.9 already, I get the initial nag, but then as long as I'm steering forward, I don't feel like I get a nag at all. I feel if I look away, I get a nag right away. But yesterday, I think I drove like a good 5-10 minutes on the highway without a nag. I don't know what your experience is, but that's been my experience.
Yeah, I don't get much nag either. The nag doesn't bother me at all, actually.
I think it's just kind of hard to justify releasing something, even if it is better, if it's having more takeovers than V11 and over a wide area across the whole country. So that's a very tall bar. They've made V11 very good. So to get V12 better than that, that's a high bar, and they're not going to jump the gun. They have a ton of scrutiny on them right now. I mentioned that some of the previous NHTSA recalls, I was seeing some of those issues resurface in the build. So things like that, you don't want to have to do another recall again. That's not going to endear you to NHTSA and make you look like you're competent. So it's annoying, yes, but when safety's on the line, they really got to go through all these things. But they will release it. I can say that with confidence because I've driven it. I know that there's no sort of major showstoppers. There have been, some bugs, some of which I've documented online, but it is not far from release, right? So I think with 12.2, they are going to start sending it out to early access customers, and this is really going to be a big deal. Just public sentiment about self-driving has really reached a period of great disillusionment. The Cruise incident, for example, and Cruise getting their permit pulled really had a big effect on sort of the outlook of the industry. And, Waymo recently hitting a cyclist in San Francisco. Some people are saying, well, maybe it was the cyclist's fault, but of course people are going to blame Waymo. And that type of thing. You have a lot of people saying, hey, this technology just isn't there. You have a lot of people looking at FSD 11 and saying, hey, this thing has limitations. I don't want to use it, whatever. But they're really using a piece of software that now is kind of more than a year out of date. In December 2022, they really started working on this and putting all their attention into 12. So when the early access testers get it, when the general public gets it, that's going to be one of those moments. And, anyone can subscribe and try it out where they really go, okay, this is another story now. Everything we thought we knew about how FSD felt, how it's going to behave, it's not necessarily true with this new version.
Question. Let's make some bets. We're short on coffee bets, guys. The coffee bets are dying. We can't let coffee bets die. The world needs more coffee bets. I'm trying to find a way to bet on how fast V12 will improve from what Omar is driving today to V12.2 or V12.3. Do you guys have any way to kind of propose how we can measure progress? The slope of the curve, as Omar put it, Meta?
Well, it depends on if you're willing to buy or download some apps that measure jerk in your accelerometer. You probably start graphing that as a way of measuring comfort in the ride. And then a second thing you could do is track miles to intervention in, a given circuit or area that you drive. And I think that would probably be sufficient for an individual person's experience. It's not the greatest benchmark, but you can start from there.
Omar, what do you think? What do you think is going to be the slope of the curve? And how can we bet on it? Well, to be honest, I have no clue what the slope of the curve is going to be. My, sort of theoretical intuition tells me it should be able to improve faster. But maybe it also will regress more because it's sort of the nature of training as opposed to C++ code. So I don't know what to expect. And, I can sort of have a theory, but I don't really know. And then, it's a little bit difficult to measure progress, right? So you could say interventions per mile, but okay, did you really need the intervention? What's considered an intervention? What area are you looking in? Are you normalizing for, consistent day and night, whatever?
So, to really try and measure it accurately, it does sort of get complicated pretty quickly. You could do some type of simplification and just say, like, okay, try and record miles per disengagement with, a few people who are trying to be consistent with each other in their data collection. You could ask, people to give a score or something like that. But it's a difficult thing to measure and make a bet on. I'm not sure how I would construct such a bet. One thing that you could maybe look at is just like the pace of the rollout. That might tell you something, just kind of surface level. Is it good enough to roll out or is it not? I wouldn't use the pace of the rollout just because the pace of the rollout could be because they feel like it's better than the previous one, or the pace could be gated by the current rollout has given us enough data. We're now ready to try the next experiment. So because they're doing experimentation, I could see the need for rollouts not be as fast externally as internally. There's a question in the comments that's kind of related to this about, how data is a really big factor for AI. And I think that's one of the things behind why folks keep thinking that they should roll out faster. The faster they roll out, the faster it'll get better. That's true to an extent, but once you have a foundational understanding of the world, you can start relying on synthetic data more, and they don't really have to release to as many people. And we're seeing this as a trend in AI in general, right? We've gone from millions of examples down to tens of thousands. And recently, with bots, they're saying it's as simple as 30 to 50 demo videos. So we're seeing a compression in how much training data is actually needed to achieve the goal. And of course, like compared to Waymo, where obviously they've achieved it with far less videos from real world. So I think Tesla could develop fairly quickly without having to do a lot of releases.
Yeah, I don't know how to measure that. I don't know how to bet on that progress. I mean, one way would be to, look at the adoption rate, but we don't really have visibility into that until they tell us. So, how many miles driven? Like, when was the last time we saw that graph? By the way, it's been a while, right?
Yeah, it was when we made our bet.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah,
maybe they only show it if we make a bet.
They haven't shown exactly. They haven't showed in like 9 months. It wasn't in the last earnings report, was it?
No, it was absent. I was looking for it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you
There's an analogy here, right? Like with the most recent Jordan Giseke video about the asymmetric. I'm going to get it wrong. I'll just get to the point. We think maybe that chemistry of the battery is what's the limiting factor. And then somebody comes up with another way to improve battery density, which has nothing to do with the chemistry of the materials. The same thing is continuing to happen with AI. We're so early in this. Wright's law is going to continue to lead to further and further compression that in a year from now, I imagine no matter what they do, they will be twice as good. As long as there's concerted effort on it, the problem is going to get solved. It's just a matter of what the regulators want to see before they allow it to be allowed everywhere. So your bet should be centered around what the regulators want to see, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a suggestion?
Miles per fatality, probably.
But we don't get that data.
Yeah, we have to wait for someone to die.
Knock on wood.
Well, you don't have to wait for someone to die. You have to wait for someone to not die for long enough.
There you go. What do you think about this new Model Y rumors? causing a bit of a trouble in the order rates to the extent that Tesla is coming out and making announcements. There's no new Model Y.
They said the same thing about the Plaid S before the Plaid S came out.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of turned into that meme with the woman in the plane. That Model Y is not real, or something like that.
What was the latency between the last statement from Tesla about there's no new Model S and when the new Model S arrived?
I don't know. It's kind of crazy why they do that. Like, why? Why are you undermining your credibility?
Because no. I mean, they said there's no new Model Y this year, and I believe them. There probably won't be a new Model Y this year. It'll probably be like end of the year in China, like Q1 2025 US. So the question is, if they say there's no new Model Y this year, it means that in Q4 they're going to have some slower demand because people wait till Q1 thinking that it could come next year. So doesn't that then incentivize them to release it in Q4? So if they say there's no new Model Y this year, like, you can play this game either way. Maybe it's like far into next year or it's early into this year. I think the easy answer here is Model Y selling fine. Model 3 wasn't selling fine, so they refreshed 3. And they're going to continue to sell Y as long as it's selling fine. Yeah, I think Sawyer did some analysis and found that if you factor in the federal incentives, you can get a Model Y for $10,000 cheaper than a Model 3. So the situation is completely reversed from Model Y being more to actually being sort of the value model, which is kind of insane.
So you guys aren't concerned about any sort of Osborning. All right.
No, I mean, I am concerned. I think it's definitely a concern because the Model Y is like most of their business, right? They sold 1.2 million Model Ys this year out of 1.8 million. So, that was really the profit driver of the business. 2 out of 3 cars they sell is the Model Y. So if the Model Y gets Osborne by the new 3 because everyone knows a new Y is coming, then absolutely it's going to put pricing pressure on the business. There's no doubt about it. Isn't that a function of how profitable the Y was compared to the 3? If the 3 is now equally or comparably profitable, does it matter if they're selling a 3 or a Y to the customer? Well, I mean, luckily in the US, we have this sort of tax incentive that makes the Model Y much cheaper. That should help balance out demand. But, I'm not saying it's going to be the end of the world for sure. But if you're just looking at the core auto business, it's definitely something to be concerned about. Now, my investment thesis about Tesla is actually, they're making these great affordable cars and FSD and AI and all that. So from my perspective, even if profitability takes a hit because they're giving everyone Model Ys, that's probably still good for the business overall because you're bringing so many people into the Tesla camp who are going to start being part of the Tesla ecosystem, buying supercharging, buying insurance, buying FSD, and generating all this recurring revenue for Tesla, and then buying another Tesla because they like their first Tesla, right? So that's kind of how I think about it, but obviously the market kind of just looks at the earnings, and if your sort of number one product is being Osborne, then that's a little bit of an issue. Now, ideally, what they would do is just update the Model Y today, and it just has all the new stuff as the new Model 3. I mean, Lars and Drew are out here on Twitter talking about all this cool new stuff in the new 3. They go, oh, it specifically isolates feelings that, frequencies that you feel in your belly. It's like, damn, that sounds cool, right? It's got all this cool new stuff, so when's it coming to the Model Y? So ideally, they'd just be able to update both at the same time. In reality, that's really hard to do. When you got a car that's doing 1.2 million units a year, made in 4 different factories on 3 different continents, and trying to figure out how to scale that in the supply chain without taking a big hit on your production and deliveries related to the transition, and while balancing margins and making sure the ramp up doesn't impact margins too much, that's a really challenging thing to do. So it's kind of unfortunate that, any sort of major update like this for Tesla is causing headwinds to their business, really. So maybe in the future with the next gen platform or something like that, we figure out a way to do this in a more seamless way. But when they say that we probably won't be able to get the new Model Y out until next year, I'm inclined to believe them. So I think the story for Model Y, Model 3 this year is, if you want the new stuff, go get the Model 3. That's definitely going to boost Model 3 demand. If you want the insane value with the point of sale credit and the most amazing deal for a great car, go with the Model Y. And honestly, it's working. I had a guy from Bloomberg, a journalist from Bloomberg, DM me, and he said, hey, I'm looking for a cheap car. I want to pay cash, not more than, $30,000, $40,000. And I want to get a Tesla. Which Tesla should I get? And I said, yeah, well, take a look at the Model Y. You can get it with the point of sale credit for around, $30K or so in some cases. So the stuff is having an effect. That kind of buyer, cost-conscious buyer, they never would have said, hey, I'm looking for a cheap car for $30K. Let me get a Tesla. But now that is part of the conversation. And, maybe then when Bloomberg's writing the next FUD story, that guy's going to say, hey, well, on my Tesla, da-da-da-da. And just like that, things start changing. And people start understanding these products more because they're actually available. They've actually seen one that their friends or family or they themselves have.
Meta, are you adjusting your estimates of when we're going to get to level 4? Curb to curb, no touch. I think we have a bet with Omar and Machine for May, right?
Yeah, it's one of those, like, as we get closer to the end, I will get more and more nervous on these things, and that usually means I might be wrong. But there's also the reality of we don't have any visibility. There's no new data. Things are progressing. We just don't have any data. It could very much come out and be pretty close to solved. I would say, like, the when I went on the ride with Omar,
I think, hold on, we do have data, right? This is very similar to when you text a girl and she leaves it on red. She reads it but doesn't respond. That's a data point. That's an answer. It's very similar to that, where there is no V12.2, even though it was supposed to come out weeks ago. That's the data point.
who says it was supposed to come out weeks ago?
I mean, come on. Are you telling me V12 is not delayed?
It's taking longer than we expected.
Okay,
but I don't
so
think
that's the data point, right?
I mean, it's actually coming in pretty much exactly where we predicted. When we were talking about it last year, people said, oh, is it coming in a couple weeks? We said, well, they're shooting to have it done by the end of the year, which means it'll probably ship in Q1. And here we are in Q1, and it's shipping. So I'd say it's pretty much hitting a normal target. I wouldn't say it's delayed more than I expected. Now, if we go past the end of Q1 and it's not wide released yet, then I would say, okay, yeah, it's probably been delayed a little bit. Omar, are you adjusting your timeline?
Hold on, we're still on you. Don't skirt away. Do you still think we're going to have curb to curb, no touch? Let me find the bet. I see some wishy-washiness here. Let me dig in a little bit more.
I mean, what does this bet even mean? Because it can already do curb to curb without any touch sometimes today. I don't mind buying Omar coffee, but buying machine coffee is going to really hurt. So I better not lose the bet. I don't think I've ever lost a bet to machines, so I don't want to start now.
Wait, I said no, it's not going to happen by May?
Yeah, you did.
It might not happen by May, but I think this year is probably by the end of this year, I think it's going to be extremely impressive. That they could, get to driverless level reliability by the end of the year is probably in the cards. I wouldn't say it's probably going to happen. Maybe I'd give it like a 30%.
Actually, that wasn't Omar. Here's the bet at the top. Tesla FSD will achieve level 4 capability, curb to curb, no reg, in the US by May 2024. Yes, Meta and me. No, machine and
what does
Wes.
no reg mean? No regulatory approval?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're kind of excluding regulatory approval, exactly.
I mean, I would say it's kind of already done this. You just need the reliability to be a little bit higher, maybe. But
Omar's...
Oh, there you go. There you go. We have Machine on here too. And Machine, look at that. Omar says we won. Give us our coffee.
I've seen the next generation of our politicians grow right in front of our eyes as these two people twist and turn and manipulate the words to make it something that it wasn't at the time. And at the time is L4 capable, that this thing would drive from door to door, curb to curb, without getting in accidents at the same rate as humans. That was the intent of the discussion. And now you see these two say, oh, well, actually, it already does it. And we know it doesn't. And Meta's over here trying to figure out how he can get out of this bed right now. And he can't. He's stuck. He's stuck with you, locked in a room. And there's one bed and one urinal. And you don't know what to do with each other.
Are you describing your last night's dream?
Well, it actually doesn't say anything about the level of reliability. It just says L4 capability curb to curb. So, you could, I would consider that, even though it's architected as an L2 system, you could just turn off the nag and it would literally be able to drive curb to curb. And I'd bet that it wouldn't get in an accident. This thing isn't trying to get into accidents that often. So pull that out to May even. You got to make sure you choose the bets carefully. I would maybe say, it could do it 100 times in a row or something, or even 10 times in a row. It could do a trip without intervention or something like that. But, it definitely does it. But the key is really doing it every single time, no matter what happens.
Do you think
L4 gives you a carve out where the vehicle can basically say, I can do this or I can't do this? The reason why we picked this whole L4 curb to curb was that's kind of how you would describe Waymo, except that, you don't have to have the regulatory approval, so the human might have to sit in the car.
Can I just say one thing? This is a first in the space's history where Meta is on the speaker board talking his side of the coffee bet, and he's in live chat typing his side of the coffee bet at the same time, simultaneously arguing on both sides, both platforms. There you go, Machine. You're losing the public relations game.
Well, I don't really care as long as the intelligent people in the audience understand the conversations that have been had over the past year and a half and understand that these people were talking about something that was going to get to the reliability of a human driver. And that was the intent of the bet. And now they're going back and saying, well, actually, if you just turned it on right now, it would be L4 and it would meet the bet. No, that was never. We all understand the SAE levels. That was not the bet. The bet was the competency, the reliability of the software, which, of course, right now, it's nowhere near what it would need to be. And then you have Omar saying, if you let it go right now, 10, it would do it 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, 99 out of 100 times. Those are still amateur numbers. And Meta, when you asked him, you brought this whole thing up with the bet, you could tell in his mind, I could read his mind, and he knew he was screwed. He knew he was screwed, and now he found some loophole to try to get out of it by changing the bet. No, I'm not letting you change the bet. How am I changing the bet? The tweet has already been written. What I'd love to understand is, what is the difference between L4 and L5 in your mind? We're not right. I'm not saying that might just be domain, your ODD. We're talking about the reliability of the software, the ability to drive curb to curb.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you guys are kind of turn around circles. But first of all, there's still 3 months to go, 3.5 months. Okay. Secondly, I agree that there needs to be some sort of reliability metric here. I don't think Meta is arguing that we won the bet right now. Omar, do you think the software can do it 10 times in a row today? If not, do you think it will be able to do it by the end of May?
It depends on the drive, but certain drives, I think it could do it 10 times in a row. It obviously depends on where you are, that kind of stuff. But, I see here really like a lot of progress being made, and people's just sort of dismissing it, right? It's kind of like, you have Steve Jobs come out and he say, you know what? In a few years, we're going to have an iPhone with 10 hours of battery life. And people say, get out of here. It only has 1 hour of battery life today. And then they put out an iPhone with 2 hours of battery life and 3 hours of battery life and 4 hours of battery life. And you got machines going, okay, sure, 4 is great, but it's not 10, okay? We're talking serious numbers here. We're talking 10. And it goes 5 and it goes 6 and it goes 7. And people are saying, well, it's not 10. But you look at what direction it's going in clearly one direction, which is up. And that's kind of what I see with autonomy today. Like, I have access to a driverless service 24/7, 365 in my city. That was not the case. In 2021, I took my first driverless ride. I had to drive out to Chandler, Arizona. It wasn't even active in Phoenix back then. I had to drive hours to Chandler, Arizona to take my first driverless ride. Now it's available in my city. It drives right up to my house, right? With FSD, I've gone from, taking over all the time to barely having to take over. So it's really clear which way the momentum's going. Everybody's sort of dismissing it. They're saying it's never going to get there, but they just keep getting closer and closer. I mean, you can literally demonstrate driverless curb-to-curb rides today with today's technology. And even with FSD 12, technology you can get off the shelf. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to take 1 more year or 2 more years or 5 more years. That's kind of, I think, what history's shown us is we don't really have a good way to predict these things. If there's some formula to calculate it, we haven't discovered it yet. But I'm not really too upset because I'm enjoying what we have and it's getting better quickly.
There you go, machine.
There's nothing really said there.
Tesla stock is above $200 per share. Are you happy about your leaps today? Are you in a happier mood?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely happy about my leaps today. The question is always, when do you deleverage? So that's where holding becomes less stressful than using options, because now you got to make decisions all the time. The ones that are 1 year out expiration, I may close out if in the next few weeks, if it goes up to, let's say, 210 to 220, for sure. That would close them out by then. The question is, do I close them out earlier? And, there might be another dip. I have no idea. So I'm still an amateur, just like Meta and Omar are talking about FSD, amateurs.
Why do you have to pull people into your misery?
It's just my personality.
Why can't you just be happy about other people? The real question is, when are you going to stop taking it out on me when you have a bad day in your leap options?
Well, I mean, first you accused me of not showing up to your spaces when I had a bad day at Leap Options, and now you're saying I showed up and abused you? Well, I mean, I guess I did. Actually, you're right, since I did make that comment about you needing to learn English.
Yeah, I was listening to that, by the way. Thanks for making my editing work 10 times harder in yesterday's space. I was listening to that, and I kind of sometimes I miss parts of the conversation because I have to moderate, and now I have two platforms to moderate and everything. But you were like so convinced that I got you, I got in your head. I'm like, I don't care if you think my English is not good. My English is good, and I do know I need to work on some words, but stop patting yourself on the back about getting people into people's heads, which is ridiculous.
He ran away.
Yeah, he does that. Meta, we have a question for you in the replies, and Omar.
I got one question that I'm gonna drop.
Okay. Waves of Life James says, my FSD beta 11.4.9 constantly kept trying to drive on the double yellow line in the snow. I'd love to know why it didn't stay centered in the lane. To see if V12 can handle snow drives better.
It'd be pretty easy. We can't know exactly why without like having access to the logs and debugging it, but theoretically in V11 it wasn't trained to do that. Somebody didn't write a heuristic for that, etc. In V12 there can be emergent behavior that allows it to know that that's what people want, purely by saying whenever I drive over the yellow line in the snow, a human takes over, and it can take those takeover pieces of feedback and it can slowly learn to do the right thing. So they're just two totally different approaches. One requires you to think of every possible scenario and tell it what to do in every possible scenario and write all those heuristics. And the other one only requires data. So I think V12 should be able to address it.
Omar,
forget about all your stupid problems with V11. V11 is a flaming pile of dog shit. When you post, why does it have an issue? It's like saying, hey, why does this piece of dog shit smell like shit? Well, because it is a piece of dog shit, okay? So they're literally throwing the entire thing in the trash. So some of the problems may carry over, but a lot of them will probably be resolved. So if V11's annoying, you just drive manually or take over, do the thing, then put it back on. And I think V12 is really going to surprise a lot of people. Just the number of long-standing issues that have been there for years that were fixed with this one update is like nothing I've ever seen. So I'm hopeful that a lot of people's long-standing issues, things like this, would be resolved with V12. I obviously can't promise that it will, but I think for a lot of the long-standing issues that people have, they will see a big improvement with V12, just based on what I've seen.
And as a reminder, like V11 was, like V10 didn't have transformers. 10.6.9 technically, I think, started to have some. V11 is where they started moving the perception stack over, and they started saying they were going to start moving more of the planning and controls over. And then some point along the way, they said, hey, why even bother doing these as separate models? Let's just merge it into one giant model. And then they've switched over to V12. I could see them in the future possibly switching approaches because the industry has kind of like started going towards more of a mixture of experts approach, which means you have many models that talk to each other. Either way, they never moved the planner and the controls from heuristics fully over to a model in the past. So as long as people are complaining about planning and model or like safety related things in terms of the vehicle's route planning and how it handles controls in different scenarios, speed and things like that, those are all things you can expect improvements on. The rare situations, which there are some examples of, where the screen doesn't see something correctly and it actually sees it incorrectly, that's a scenario that probably won't improve. But I think it's something to be said that, a few years ago, all the complaints were it didn't see a stop sign, it didn't see this, and now there's almost no complaints about vision.
Thank you, Meta. Omar, Tim is asking the replies, how can I get V12 and I told him to post compliments to Elon. Is there a specific compliment that worked for you?
Yeah, I mean, if you sleep with someone on the autopilot team, they may be able to send it to you. So just hang out around Palo Alto, around the engineering HQ, and see what you can do.
There you go, Tim.
Bring knee pads.
Bring what?
I said knee pads. And with that, I'm gonna go.
Okay. There you go. Yay. You know what I realized? When I start recording right after the space ends, for the first 20 minutes, you can actually see the smiling, the laughing emojis and stuff. But then it cuts off for some reason. I wonder why that is.
Probably just a bug.
Yeah. I mean, dude, how hard would it be to have this live chat at the bottom of this page on X Spaces, just like we have on the on YouTube?
I mean, I think the issue is Elon fired the entire X Spaces team, and it's now being maintained by a gerbil that lives in one of the ducts above the headquarters.
Do you think I should add, just administrative question for you, do you think I should add other captions to my videos of these spaces? Like embedded in the video, not the ones that Google comes up with on YouTube by itself, closed captions.
I mean, you could maybe. I don't know.
I need to add some motion to the screen. Apparently, some B-rolls. That's the advice they give for these. So I've been listening to some of these.
YouTube?
Yeah.
All right, why don't you have a dancing Elon that dances to the beat of our words or something like that?
That's not a bad idea. Tim?
You'd be better off with that, because right now the captions aren't actually working very good. They were working good until about 3 weeks ago, and then they just kind of went bad.
You mean the closed captions on YouTube?
Well, I meant the closed captions that are here on Spaces.
Oh, I got you. No. I'm not talking about that. Okay, hold on.
Level of precision that's crazy.
Okay, stop. What I'm talking about is on CapCut, there's a function that adds automatic captions. So I just published a video called "When Will Tesla Refresh the Model Y?" Okay, it's only a 10-minute video. Please go to that video, watch it, and let me know. I added closed captions on there, some automated captions, and I corrected a couple of things, but it mostly does it 95% of the job. It does it itself. I kind of just watch it through, edit whatever I need to, and I can place the captions. And it's kind of like the captions that you see on YouTube Shorts. I wonder if people would find that useful. So please leave a comment and let me know if you find it useful. Jimmy?
So if you want to make this better and you want to get more viewership and everything, go to websites like Storybox. There's a bunch of free sites out there. And what you can do is you can get moving backgrounds. So it will just be us talking, and then you can put up a visual of just
I know.
no nonsense.
I got that part. B-roll is in the plans. It's on the roadmap. I'm asking about closed captions.
Yeah, and then closed captions. The problem that you have with closed captions
is the audio issues.
Dang it. As soon as I get it's okay, can you hear me now? Okay, closed captions. If you put closed captions up through CapCut or a nonlinear editor, what happens is YouTube also has their closed captions. And YouTube, if people put those on, you're just going to have a jumble of letters and words all over the screen at the bottom. Because most people, by default, I think in the phone app, it just puts on closed captions on YouTube.
So you clearly haven't watched my latest video, because I put the closed captions for that reason at the top. Right above...
I understand, but you're doubling your captions for no reason.
Well, the reason is I can edit those captions. I can't edit the YouTube captions, right?
You can. No, you can. In YouTube Studios, you can go through the captions and you can change them and fix them.
Okay. Then I will do that on the laptop. Okay, I really don't like it when people get crazy about emojis when they come up to speaker board. It's very distracting. And it doesn't look good on the video either. So let's immediate removal to listener mode.
One of the
Jimmy, Jimmy,
I'm delayed.
Do you still have that microphone?
Yeah, I do. DM me if you want a Peel box or whatever. I'm never going to Texas, but you can just shoot me your address. I'll send it to you. It's a Shure SB whatever. It's not the super expensive one. It's the second one down, but I got like 4 of them. I don't want to sell them. I'll give you one if you need one. You can either plug it in through Phantom Power, which is an auxiliary cable, or you can plug it in with a normal USB Type-C cable, I believe, or DV cable. I forget what it is. And then you can plug headphones right into it as well. Yeah, I can send you that. I was just going to say one other thing. If you really want to captivate an audience, it's your thumbnail. If you can just put some type of thumbnail up for your videos, you will see your viewership just automatically rise. There's a lot of like Tesla YouTubers just look at their thumbnails on their videos. I click on them sometimes and like, oh, this is going to be cool. And then I listen and I'm like, oh, this sucks, you know. But thumbnails, they do draw crowds.
You know, yeah, I've been looking at different metrics. And do you have a YouTube channel?
I've helped start many YouTube channels that have gone into millions of subscribers. I used to be an editor. I've edited for MKBHD in the past. I've done tons of stuff. I've ran tons of different channels. Me personally, I used to have a channel, but my channel is so ADD where I would just put things up that help people. And then I ended up removing, and I also got removed because I covered a lot of like firearms and things like that. And YouTube did like a purge of that a long time ago. And so my channel like went down, but you can find me on there. I think I go by Jiffer or Jifferific, one of the two, but I've deleted tons of videos. I think I only have like 300 subscribers on that channel, but at one point in time, I used to have like 100,000 subscribers on a channel. And we used to do like a lot of stuff with RCs and explosives and paintball and stuff like that.
What's a good click-through rate for a thumbnail, do you think?
Oh, I have no idea right now anymore. I have no idea. Things change so much on YouTube. Like, don't you have to reach like 70,000 hours or something to even just get monetized?
4,000. And that's why we have live chat at the top of our screens is a link to the YouTube live chat, which counts towards watch hours. So please go to the live chat. The more people, the quicker we'll get there. Jimmy, I'll reach out to you. We can talk about this stuff. People come here to learn more about Tesla. So we're going to talk Tesla here, but I'll reach out to you. But my click-through rate is actually really good compared to average, like double, triple the average. I think I'm good on the thumbnail front. I like the simple thumbnails that I have. They're not clickbait. They immediately
I use Dolly to generate thumbnails.
Yeah, I don't want like I don't think like everybody's doing that. I watched all the YouTube videos about you should do this and you should do that about for new creators, but that's not my issue. I will ask you specific questions about now that I know you have a lot of experience doing this stuff. I will ask you specific questions about the issues that I do have that I need solutions for. So microphone is step 1. I'll reach out to your DM, and then another thing that's on my mind I gotta ask you about. Thank you, Jimmy.
One thing that's also helpful, if you leave your mouth open in the thumbnail, I think that's supposed to be good.
It's you have to put will she buy a Tesla and then any supermodel showing cleavage. That's basically how you get clicks.
Yeah, I don't have any problems getting clicks. It's the anyway. All right. You're not gonna see my shocked face. Somebody says, oh, Steve says in the YouTube chat. There's not gonna be a shocked face. We also have a poll going on YouTube chat with 219 votes right now. Should I add other captions to videos? please go to YouTube chat, live chat. At the top of your screen is the link, and vote to should I add other captions to videos. Interesting results. I like how this channel is shaping up, honestly. I think things are going all right. We just have to get to 10,000 subscribers, get to tens of thousands of views per video. Until that point, it's kind of a hustle. But then after that, we can try some new, innovative, cool stuff, I think. Anyway, back to Tesla. Omar, what do you make of these changes? Now SpaceX reincorporated in Texas. It sounds like Tesla is just a matter of time.
Yeah, I think the shareholders will approve it. Elon obviously has a decent stake. People who are close to him are shareholders of the company, and I think most of the shareholders do tend to listen to him. So it seems like it's going to be Texas.
Do you think Delaware will stop becoming the top spot for incorporation?
I think it'll probably maintain its advantage through inertia, but certainly there was no reason not to incorporate in Delaware before. And now there is a reason that's going to be at the forefront of every startup founder's mind. I mean, everybody knows Elon Musk. When he says something, they listen. He's now put out a statement today saying we won't acquire any Delaware companies. So it's a chip in the armor for sure, where there wasn't one before. And I think that people will jump less to using a Delaware corporation as a default and more towards maybe picking a jurisdiction that makes sense. I have a company that is a Delaware corporation, so I'm not really planning to move it, but maybe at some point I could. I mean, California is just a much worse jurisdiction, so I definitely wouldn't want to make it a California corporation.
Any questions for Omar? Please request to speak. Wes was talking yesterday about a BYD ad that he saw on his X feed. BYD advertising its cars on X. What do you think of that? Do you think that signals that BYD is going to bring its cars to the US soon?
Well, I think that Chinese cars are going to come to the United States within the next 4 years. You're already starting to see it. I think you saw NIO make an announcement. So there's some obstacles to Chinese EVs coming to the United States. The U.S. government isn't really going to be happy about it. But you're seeing, for example, the tariffs that we have, the Trump-era tariffs, that imposes a 25% tariff on any EV imported from China. So that right away wipes out a lot of the cost advantage that they have. And it's one of the reasons why BYD has said, look, we're not getting into North America. They've gone into South America. They've gone into Mexico. They've stayed away from the U.S. because they know how the U.S. government's going to react. They're going to be pissed off. Then the other issue besides the tariff is the $7,500 EV credit. So BYD could come into the United States, but because only vehicles assembled in North America qualify for the $7,500 and you can't use Chinese batteries in the supply chain, that would disqualify them from that. So even if they were to, let's say, bring the BYD Seal to North America, the $7,500 tax credit would make, for example, the Model Y a much better deal than any Chinese EV. So those are the sort of regulatory obstacles that make it unfavorable for a Chinese automaker to enter the market. They're probably not going to have success because they're at a disadvantage with that 25% tariff. and with the lack of the tax credit and the lack of the battery production credit, that are going to make it sort of hard for them to compete. So what we're going to see happen, and what we're starting to see happen, is actually Mexico becoming the center of the EV supply chain in the world. Because under the US, Mexico, Canada free trade agreement, you can trade freely without tariffs between the US, Canada, and Mexico. So it's very common for auto parts and even finished cars to travel between the US, Canada, and Mexico, and there's no issue. Like, for example, the Mustang Mach-E gets the $7,500 tax credit, even though it's manufactured in Mexico. So you're now seeing Elon Musk reach out to all of Tesla's Chinese suppliers who supply parts for Giga Shanghai, and he's telling them, hey, I want you guys to set up in Mexico. The Mexican government doesn't have any political beef with you guys. They're not going to fuck you over like the U.S. government is. Set up in Mexico. That's a good place for you to go. There's huge industrial production, especially in Nuevo Leon. There's so many factories and so many parts there. It is kind of becoming sort of similar to China in many ways, in that you have obviously not as advanced in China. The supply chain there is second to none, but you're seeing many of those companies set up shop and actually manufacturing in Mexico with locally made goods, even on sort of the battery side, trying to use locally made goods. And if a Chinese manufacturer were to set up a factory in Mexico, or even a factory for various parts in the supply chain, shock absorbers, battery components, electrical components, things like that, they could actually ship it into the United States from Mexico, and it would be a Mexican EV rather than a Chinese EV. And as such, they could totally get around the 25% import tariff. If it is assembled and manufactured in Mexico, then for the purposes of the law, it's a made in Mexico EV rather than a Chinese EV. So this could take, they're thinking maybe 4 years or so to set up this production. And lawyers have even identified potentially, they think, a way to get the $7,500 tax credit on a Chinese EV that's made in Mexico. So it's really only a matter of time. These sort of low-cost Chinese EVs, you can get a BYD for like $11,000. This is disrupting the auto market globally. And, honestly, Ford is shitting their pants about it. I was reading an article in Auto News yesterday about this and Ford's comments on this. And, I think Tesla's responding as well with their affordability strategy. They don't want to be caught flat-footed by this, even though it may be, really 4 to 6 years for them to be in the U.S. market in a serious way. But I wouldn't be surprised if by 2030, you see Chinese brands, even in the U.S. market, starting to outpace the German luxury brands and even some of the American brands.
All right, bring in a new speaker. If you have any questions for Omar, please request to speak, but be patient. If I haven't accepted your request to speak, there's a reason. But I probably will. David, go ahead.
Hi, this is a question for Omar on the FSD take rate. Do you think at some point the Tesla insurance could pay for a big amount of the FSD monthly subscription? By using FSD, your insurance would be low cost. So basically, one thing pays for the other. Does that make sense to you that at some point the Tesla insurance, by using FSD?
Omar?
Yeah, definitely. So you're already starting to see this today. If you have Tesla insurance and if you have FSD, you're going to get a lower insurance rate. So in most states that use a safety score, when you're on FSD, you get 100 safety score. So if you use FSD all the time, your safety score is going to be higher and you're going to get a lower rate. So you're already saving money on insurance if you use Tesla insurance, if you're someone who uses FSD all the time. Now in the future, I really think we're trending to a world where if you're on FSD, you won't have to pay for any insurance. So my buddy just got a Model Y. He's paying about $120 a month in insurance, or, $1,500 a year or so. So he could completely eliminate that expense in theory if his car was just driving around in FSD all the time. And what I would see Tesla doing is just essentially rolling the cost of insurance into the cost of the FSD subscription. As the software gets super reliable and it's super hard to crash the car, it's going to be very cheap to insure because they have control over the software, and they know that it's very, very rare for it to crash. So the number of incidents would be low, the number of users would be high, and I think they would just roll that in. So I do see this as being something that today can reduce your Tesla insurance payment, and tomorrow could eliminate it entirely, assuming you're not driving manually. You might have to pay a little bit to insure your manual driving, but if it's the software driving itself, any sort of issue that happened, like let's say you're on FSD in the future and your car rear-ended somebody or something like that, you would just file the claim with Tesla, they would handle it, and theoretically the liability would just be entirely on them. They roll it into the cost of the product, and you don't have to worry about taking out separate insurance yourself.
Thank you. Tommy.
Hey, a comment to Omar. I've seen you talk about the torque that's required to, alleviate the nag on autopilot. And I just thought it would be good if you could educate people on the fact that, you can just literally turn on, change song, or turn up the volume, turn down the volume. You can do anything that requires any input in the car, and that will take away the nag. I just thought that would be a good idea as new people learn how to use it.
Yeah, you can definitely scroll the scroll wheels to dismiss the nag. But actually on the FSD 12 build I have, you can't do that. But they told me they're just turning it up to 11 temporarily. They're going to roll it back. But yeah, if you're on the 11 builds, you can definitely scroll the scroll wheel to dismiss the nag, which is kind of easy if you're learning how to do it.
John Ookman.
So, Omar, I just had to drop my insurance with Tesla because they only give you a score based on your manual driving. Right now, any FSD driving is not counted, and insurance-wise, it just became prohibitive.
Yeah, so you basically get a perfect score for any FSD driving, and then your manual driving is scored, and they take the average of that for the month. So, like I tell people, just shop around for the cheapest insurance. If it's Tesla insurance, great. If it's not Tesla insurance, then go with the cheaper one. And, some people are annoyed by the safety score here in California. Our rates aren't actually impacted by the safety score, so it doesn't matter to me. But a lot of people also do get frustrated. They don't want this sort of nanny system watching them, and, they have too many forward collision warnings or something, and now suddenly their insurance rate goes up. So at the end of the day, it just comes down to if it's cheaper, do it. If it's not cheaper, go with the cheaper one.
At least in my case, I didn't get any credit at all for FSD driving. So if I'm 90% perfect driving, my insurance is my Tesla insurance was based on only my manual driving, 10%. I talked to them for a long time on the phone, and they said that's the way they're doing it. I don't know if that's outside of Illinois, but I know in Illinois it's only based on your manual driving.
Yeah, I don't think that's accurate. I think that basically any time that you're on FSD, you get a perfect score. And you can kind of see that if you go into the safety score, you can view the trips. I can view the score on trips that I used FSD the entire time, and it's a perfect score, 100 out of 100. So they'll take that, they'll average that with your manual driving, and that'll be used to come up with your overall score. At least that's my best understanding right now.
I'll suggest that you're not correct on this one, but I'm going to leave it at that, of course, because you're pretty on top of this stuff.
Thank you, John. Omar, I see you pinned an article you want to talk about.
Yeah, so just, I think this sort of Mexico thing is really interesting. It's honestly kind of like makes me kind of bullish on Mexico and the economy there. I think there really is an automotive supply chain building up there where Mexico could really be an auto production center of the future. And then there was one more article here about Ford. This one's behind a paywall. But let's see, where was it? But yeah, it really kind of just got me thinking about Mexico and China and, the affordability strategy. You got these guys saying, oh, making these EVs affordable is a terrible decision. I think it's increasingly looking like a brilliant decision. And you have to really prepare for what's eventually going to happen here with these Chinese EVs. You don't want to be caught flat-footed where they can just come in and completely undercut you on price. And that's just the end of the day, end of the story for you.
All right, let's look through Sawyer's Twitter real quick. Adam Jonas has released a new Tesla note. Trojan EV, Tesla, Mexico, China. Quote, the US wants EVs, but EV supply relies on China. China wants export markets, but confronts a rise in protectionism. Elon Musk wants way cheaper EVs, so do consumers. But you need China for that. Mexico is in a powerful position to broker a westernized, China-based EV supply chain. What do you think about this one? Tesla has been forced to delay deliveries of the Model S dual-motor all-wheel drive and Model Y Performance in the US. Tesla instituted the delivery pause at the request of the EPA due to potential issues with the two vehicles' range figures.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like not good, obviously, if they are waiting for EPA approval to be able to deliver these vehicles, but it sounds like something that's kind of minor that they'll work out. They may have to update the range figures like they did with some of the other vehicles, but, I expect it to probably be resolved before the end of the quarter, certainly, so they can deliver a bunch of these vehicles this quarter.
Rivian will unveil their next-gen vehicle on March 7 at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Sawyer called out Business Insider for a false interpretation of the filing. Sawyer says Elon's outright Tesla ownership stake did not increase. He owns the same amount of Tesla as he did a year ago. Lucid cut prices by $8,000, up to $8,000. GM announced a 350,000-mile expansion of the Super Cruise semi-autonomous driver assistance system. Have you ever tried Super Cruise?
No. It's hard to find a car that has it.
Yeah. I think that's it on the news front. Most of the macroeconomic data that came in today was in line with Goldilocks scenario. That's the quick summary. If you want more detailed macro posts, you can go to VA_macro. I hold macro spaces on Saturdays there. What else is on your mind?
FSD 12 and Mexico.
Yeah, we're still waiting for V12. Do you think it's going to come out this weekend? V12.2? Any rumors? Rambling?
I think it is, but we'll see. So I pinned up the second article at the top from Bloomberg. Ford sees colossal competitive threat in low-cost Chinese EVs. And then under the story about Elon wooing Chinese suppliers to come set up in Mexico. I think people in the U.S. haven't really woken up to what's really happening in the rest of the world, which is that you can buy a $10,000 BYD Seagull or $11,000. I'm not, obviously it probably wouldn't be $11,000 in the U.S., meaning all the safety standards and whatever, but this is an incredibly disruptive trend. These incredibly low-cost EVs that are in many ways actually better than gas cars, more high-tech, more features, but they cost less right out the door, and you save money every time you drive them on fuel and maintenance.
All right. Any questions for Omar? Please request to speak. Trying to see what else is new. What do you think of OpenAI's Sora text and video model that's kind of making the rounds? People seem very impressed. Sora serves as a foundation for models that can understand and simulate the real world, a capability we believe will be an important milestone for achieving AGI.
Yeah, exactly. It can't be an AGI if it doesn't understand the world. You really need video and vision understanding. So this is, these are some pretty impressive results. It's incredible how rapidly the pace of AI is advancing. First, this model is just handling text. Then they add image capabilities. It can generate images. You can feed an image into it and it can understand what it's seeing. Now we're adding video generation capabilities. And soon I'm sure you'll be able to actually pass a video into the model and have it watch that and understand that. You'll be able to say, hey, I want you to watch this video of the space and cut up all the most interesting clips. And it'll just be able to do it for you. So, yeah, there's just incredible stuff happening in AI right now. And I think what Tesla is doing is so underappreciated, right? Like, hey, OpenAI, how did that company start? Oh, yeah, Elon and Sam Altman started it. That's right. And Karpathy was poached from OpenAI to come to Tesla and built up the team there. Like, I don't think people realize these are like all the same guys who like invented deep learning and are like leading the way in this stuff. And Tesla's right there in Palo Alto. They're really like deeply integrated into everything that's happening here. And they're really at the cutting edge. And, you just look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA now is the third most valuable stock out there. I think it passed Google or Amazon or something like that briefly, or maybe it still did. I mean, the stock is just going bananas. And why is the stock going bananas? Why are they worth 1.8 trillion? Because of demand for AI training chips, right? So Tesla, they have Dojo. Dojo is just one sort of startup project within the company, just one. And the goal is to just make a training supercomputer of their own. They are not working on this because it's like the hip thing, it's the hype, the buzz right now. They have been working on this for years because they recognize that it was fundamental to AI and could be a fundamental competitive advantage. And I mean, this is no joke. They got Pete Bannon leading the Dojo team. Can Tesla, unseat NVIDIA? Well, the chip architect is the guy who unseated Intel at Apple and replaced the Intel chips with the Apple silicon chips. And, the laptops actually got better, not worse, right? And they had this great Intel emulation. The Apple silicon and, Apple processors for the iPhone has obviously been a huge success. So that's the guy they have working on, their AI training supercomputer. And like Elon said, it's kind of those projects where it may fail. It may end up being nothing. Maybe they can't beat NVIDIA or provide something competitive. But if they can, I mean, here's this other company in the space that's a $1.8 trillion company. And this is just sort of one area of the Tesla AI thing. And they own the solution end to end, right? They're not just selling chips to people. They control the actual end product. So they control what kind of chips they train on. And if they can train on their own chips, then why not? So it just makes you wonder all these little pieces that the market is ignoring because they're just focused on automotive gross margin and just all the stuff that's happening in AI, the way things are growing, it's just crazy. It really just makes me think about really what Tesla's AI business is worth. And I think it's just vastly underestimated. Like, I could see Dojo being $1 trillion business potentially in, let's say 10 years or something. It could be a $0 business. It could potentially be $1 trillion business. It's clear there's a market there that's very, very big. That's bigger than, say, $50 billion ARR, right? So, it just kind of blows my mind, everything that's happening with AI these days. And, just imagine the compute demands to train a video model like this on, millions and millions of videos. It's no wonder we can't get enough chips. And Sam Altman's trying to raise $7 trillion to start a AI training chip startup.
Well, Tesla stock is up today, even though the market is underestimating everything you said about Tesla. The stock is up more than 6%, closed at $200.45 per share. Even after hours, it's up 0.8%. What do you make of that? A total of 7% move. And in the last 3 days, up about 11%.
Well, I think it's oversold. I'm a little bit excited. It seems like I bought right at the bottom. I bought, $25,000 worth of shares at 183. So that's a nice bounce. I also had some calls that are up 40% today. So that's always fun to see some green. But, when sentiment gets negative, people just get so ridiculous, right? And they just get so over the top. And I think the company is really extremely undervalued. You look at all these other AI names, they're all at all-time highs. And what Tesla's doing is just being overlooked. Even though they have a better chance at generating billions of dollars in positive free cash flow from what they're doing in AI, probably before OpenAI or anybody else, even Microsoft or anybody except NVIDIA, really. And, NVIDIA is really making hardware. I'm not sure that growth can really be as enduring when you have companies like Tesla and Microsoft and Google and everybody just wanting to stop using these chips for training because NVIDIA has a 70% margin. So, yeah, it's just one day, 1 week, whatever. I don't try and cry on the down days or get too excited on the green days. It's not necessarily going to be easy every day, but I think this company is going to be the most valuable company in the world, which means that every company that's higher on the list today, it's going to grow faster than all of them. Grow faster than NVIDIA, grow faster than Microsoft, grow faster than Apple. And it kind of just makes sense intuitively. I'm going to go return my Apple Vision Pro today. These companies were once world-changing, shit-your-pants kind of companies. Like, wow, a personal computer. Everybody has a computer in their home that's easy enough for them to use. And they can do all these things with their computer. That was a holy shit, change the world, shit-your-pants idea. Google, all the world's information at your fingertips. You can just search anything. All of human information, just get the answer in a second. That was a holy shit your pants world-changing idea. You don't see many of those ideas anymore. The Apple Vision Pro, it's a product that actually hurts to use. So, the Apple car, they've been working for 10 years, they haven't put out shit. So these companies had their eras of growth. They're not going to be growing as quickly in the future. They're really focused now on maintaining their business. Tesla is one of those companies that is at the stage they were a couple decades ago, where they're developing things that are just starting to become available to the mainstream. So I think they will grow faster than any of the other Magnificent Seven names over the next, 5 to 10 years.
Thank you. Where do you think the stock goes from here? $200 per share? Do you think we're going to see 300 or stick around for a little bit or go back down? Any views?
I mean, I don't know. Nobody, can predict what's going to happen. But I would just generally follow the pace of rate increases or rate cuts. I think when we started to see some signs that the Fed was done hiking rates, we saw a move in Tesla that the market really looks at this as one of the big one of the big monetary policy losers, where rate hikes really disproportionately affected not only their sales, but also sort of capital inflows into the stock. And I think that's going to play out in reverse as rates start to be cut. So that's when I think, maybe people really start to get excited about it. I think if some of these institutional investors really looked at FSD 12 and really sort of understood the implications of this new approach, then, I think it would probably trade at high 300s or something like that. But who knows if they'll figure it out or what that pace of the rollout looks like. So I'm bullish, but also ready for some tough times. Their strategy of affordability, what's going on with the Model Y, it may pose some, headwinds in the short term. Tesla saying growth is going to be more muted this year. That may cause Wall Street to doubt the company's future. But I think that isn't really the future of the business. The future of the business is really on the AI side. And what the auto business really needs to do in the meantime is just get as many cars out there as physically possible.
All right, we're coming up to 2 hours. I have live chat going on YouTube, which helps watch hours. We started that 1 hour before the X Space as a pregame. We talked about the future of the YouTube channel, etc. If you'd like to be part of those conversations, please head over to YouTube channel, live chat through the link at the top of your screens. I'm going to stick around for another half hour after we end the X Space here to kind of recap, see what people liked and any feedback and all that stuff. So you can join that live chat at the top of your screens through that link. Omar, anything else on your mind before we wrap up?
No, I think we covered it.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Take care. All right. Well, that's the end of the X Space. I see we have 282 votes on should I add other captions on videos. 61% said yes. 39% said no. So I'll give it a shot. The video I have right now, the only video I have with captions on, is the last one I published this morning. When will Tesla refresh the Model Y? And the initially it doesn't have that many views. It's a short video, so it's hard to compare to the long ones. But it's just that so this is the first data point we have with other captions. I haven't seen a comment on it. I'm not sure if people care about captions too much, honestly. As long as the speakers talk clearly and slowly, they articulate well. I think these other captions might be a distraction. Not sure. But I'll keep looking at the data and try different things. What do you guys think of this space? Do you have any feedback? Any parts of the discussion that you liked better than the rest? Is there anything we could have done better? Is there a subsection of today's X space that you would like to see in a short form content on YouTube? I'll keep looking at the replies. Probably stick around here for another 10 minutes or so. Get it up to 3 hours and then we'll call it a day. But in the meantime, for the next 10 minutes, if you have any feedback, please let me know. Thank you for all your likes and participating in this live chat throughout the X space. It really helps the channel. As you can see in the poll, we had nearly 300 votes, and not everyone who comes into the space votes. So we have about 1,000 people who come in and go during these live chat sessions, which is pretty awesome. And once we have video in a few months or so, I think the audience retention is going to improve a little bit. Let me look through the replies. Habib says shout outs cost $10 each. Chris, my initial quote was $107. I'm guessing that's for Tesla insurance. You all better hand me your backstage passes, says Trid. We're checking everyone here tonight. Habib says, just some feedback. I like how after every few topics, you break off from the Tesla topic and share the process of building your new space brand. It's a personable approach to the behind the scenes. Okay, I'll take note of that. Steve says, you're doing great. Thank you, Steve. Yang says, already really nice. If short clips available, we'd love to hear again about the potentials discussed. Thanks. Okay, sounds good. It's very good, very good. If you don't mind, just hit that like button before you leave. That helps the channel. These live chats are published later on. They have to be published and kept public for them to count toward watch hours. So this 3 hours, I think we had about 50 people on average. So that'll add 150 hours, maybe closer to 200 hours today. So that's really good. We have 2,500 hours to go. Actually, more like 2,000 hours to go. So between this and the daily videos, that should be about a week. So sometime next week, we should hit the 4,000 hours level. And then it's a process of when they get around to reviewing my channel and approve it for monetization. Brill says my dog is almost. What kind of dog do you have, Brill? Is it Brill or Briley or Briley? Wow, 302 votes. That's really good. I should do these. We should do like daily polls here. You could live stream the Tesla price 24 hours a day. That's not a bad idea. That's so funny. Briley, number 2. Okay. All right, cool. Or 2 dogs, I guess. It kind of sucks that this is not a two-way chat. I can't text here. You guys can't talk. I guess all these platforms have their strengths and weaknesses. Chris says, the Y is so affordable right now. The all-wheel drive long range is amazing at around 35 to 39,000 before state incentive. Meta says, Sora makes it easier for them to have the AI dream up scenarios. Assuming Sora is cheaper to use than their in-house system they already demoed in the past. Dana says, looking good today. Yang, a reminder of words like production is very hard, why there is no movie on that. What great future to look forward to, okay? The Zach is asking macro account name. It's VA_macro. That's where I publish macro tweets because most people don't really care about macro stuff. Habib, like pedestrian. Pronounce Briley, like pedestrian. On one of my other channels, we got approved for monetization less than 24 hours after we hit the watch time requirement. Okay, great. That's really good. That's really good. So maybe sometime next week I'll be approved for watch time monetization. I really appreciate everyone's help here for that. These live chats really help. So, all right. I'm gonna put on my shorts, my sweatshirt, and go for my daily walk. and I walk about 8 miles a day while the space records. Today's space was about 2 hours, so that's a good amount of time. I'm a little surprised that this Model Y, when will Tesla refresh the Model Y video, isn't doing too well right now. It's the 8th most popular. Impression click rate is actually really low. Click-through rate. Yeah, interesting. I thought this would be popular, but I guess not. I'm gonna look into why that is. Even though like one of the only comment there is under this video, it says these are my favorite videos, shorter about one topic. Well, the data doesn't agree with you, Cyber Gigafactory. So I'm not sure. Gonna have to look into this one. We're almost up to 1,200 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. It's gonna be a struggle to 10,000, it seems. We got to 1,000 very quickly, but slowed down quite a bit after that. My cardio rehab starts 4 o'clock Pacific time, says Chris. My dog's name is Ellie. All right. Steve, same. Putting some shorts on. All right, everybody. Let's call it a day. Thank you very much for your help. And I will talk to you tomorrow for pregame again. Take care. Have a good night.